as we move towards an increasingly interconnected world with the Internet of Things and smart devices, how do you anticipate content consumption changing and what new opportunities might arise for marketers and creators?
Content consumption has forever changed. We all began from a place of sit and listen or watch. That's what it was traditionally. Closest thing we got to mobile, I guess, was maybe car radio. But now we're in a world where everyone walks around with their head in their palm, right? Because they're consuming that piece of content on the go. And if it's so good, they'll bump into you. They'll bump into a wall, walk into the street, right? And that's something that I think we're going to have to just become increasingly more comfortable with, especially when you look at, even though we haven't figured it out yet, but autonomous vehicles and the screens that they can have. The new 7 Series BMW's got like a 27-inch screen in the back that comes down, all right? So I think increasingly going forward, you won't have to leave or be interrupted in terms of your content experience. I think we've already got some continuous things now. You know, I can go from one room here upstairs and still see it, or just pull out my iPad and pick up there as well. I think that continuity is going to increase across wherever the consumer could possibly be. The proliferation of screens could create the opportunities for more communal experiences in terms of content consumption rather, in ways that we just haven't ever really imagined. Right now, you go to the theater to watch a film, right? But the drive-in is somewhat of an old thing, right? But the drive-in could be on any wall right now. Okay. And so what content opportunity is that creating that we aren't taking advantage of? Mm-hmm. Why aren't we watching movies on the side of buildings that are also projecting Wi-Fi that really encourages people to do it, to amplify that message and what have you? Like, I think you're going to see increasingly more just opportunities to engage the consumer in places where you may have thought we're out of bounds, right? I mean, we thought we'd have screens in the bathrooms. Now it's above every urinal almost. It's just going to increase.
Yeah, it's so crazy. I keep thinking about my 4-year-old niece. She prefers YouTube over any, including Disney, over any streaming platform or any channel. And so when she goes into the Tesla, she sees this huge screen and she's like, oh, YouTube. And she's instantly like knows how to use it. I'm looking at her and I'm like, oh my God, you know, it's almost like previous generation for us, like talking about mobile devices. That's a given for this generation. For these 4-year-olds, it's going to be like, if there's no screens in the car, how are we going to go anywhere, you know?
Well, I first noticed it when I was moving from Queens. I took a TV off of a shelf, put it on the floor, and my son was about that age then. And I turned around and he had walked up to the TV and was trying to treat it like an iPad. And I was like,
this is not working.
Yeah. You know, like to him, this is iPad. This is how screens are used. And for a generation that are reared with touch phones, iPads, you know, the TV, the monitor as a one-way non-interactive device that some of us kind of grew up with, that would be a thing of the past.
So as a respected visionary, because that's how I see you in the industry, what excites you the most about the future of content consumption, and what do you believe will be the most significant game changers in the years to come?
I got to say, I really did like the Vision Pro. I don't think it's there yet. I think the price point is really too high, what have you. But I think there was something that was said in the tail end where he was like, essentially, if you were going to buy a big screen TV, a laptop, all of this, like this device would do it for you. And as someone who's always kind of, I think, looking to shrink their footprint, I started to see the value. I don't know if I want to rock around with it on my head or something like that, but if it could be projected in some way and I could have a smaller footprint, but still be kind of as connected to everything, I think that's really it as well. Because I also think, you know, the traditional workstation, I got like a 2-monitor to hook up the arms and all that. It almost carries like stodgy older connotations, right? And when you're looking to, as we're going to have to kind of reimagine the office or working environments when people aren't coming into work every day, I think that technology really offers some of the best opportunities for creative collaboration, solving some of the problems to creative collaboration that we're seeing in the modern environments. So I'd say that. And then lastly, AI. You know, I think generative AI is going to be a game changer on just so many levels and truly disrupt the industry. I think everyone who's a creator in the industry has had a blessed opportunity if you've made it through the gate and have had the opportunity essentially for someone else to sponsor your creative, right? And for you to have the opportunity for that creative to compete on a worldwide level. Some of the things that I've seen are like, oh, you need a studio for what? Like you might just have a day job and you can pay for this AI support to do all of the creative stuff that you may need. And we've got limitless distribution channels now. I think it's just going to change everything, change the definition of what we call celebrity as well.
What trends do you see with the more UGC content, influencer marketing? Any new trends that you're seeing?
And I think it's a very interesting time. And we just talked about also how young people's first foray into the world of entertainment, content consumption is through these UGC channels, your YouTubes, your TikToks, and what have you. I think the reality is this is where future audiences are meeting future stars, future pitchmen and women for brands and products. This is simply the reality. It's not, somebody waiting tables in Hollywood and then going on auditions. They're actually like on TikTok, on YouTube, building their following that way. And that's something that brands are going to have to acknowledge. I'm sure there's someone out there who was like, yeah, I remember when Mr. Beast came in this office and he had 1,000 subscribers. All right. And now look at it. It is a truly competitive channel to rightfully linear and all others as well. So you think brands are going to simply have to understand that it's no longer as simple as coming to the table with the biggest check, being able to get the biggest star, calling it a day. It's that research, it's that interpretation and understanding of the data and the trajectory. Because the other thing we was talking about your UGCs and your influencers is that even though it is becoming a little bit more, I don't want to say policed, but let's just say it's maturing, right? It's still the wild, wild west from a talent perspective. So someone who could have been a great influencer or partner with today to reach your demo could have a misstep. Right. So this is where social listening comes in. You got to be able to, or be ready rather, to pivot quickly if necessary.
That leads me to my next question. So with the emerging technologies that we are seeing today and all the investment that's going into these technologies like augmented reality, virtual reality, and AI-driven content, we're going to have way more AI-driven recommendations. How do you feel about these innovations influencing the way consumers engage with and consume content and will be consuming content?
It's real interesting. I think we're really just starting to scratch the surface of AI content recommendations. And because it's happening so fast, I don't really think we've kind of stopped to consider what might be falling through the cracks in those scenarios. And I say so because as of late, I found out about shows that might be perhaps in their second season that I'm the ideal target for. Man over 40, into all the sci-fi, superhero stuff, all of that. And I didn't receive a commercial on any platform. But I go to my groups or my followers, the people who I do follow rather, who are with similar ilk on a social platform, and they're talking about it as well. So I do think as it relates to those recommendations, there's still a lot to be desired. And I think you're going to see AI playing even stronger role in that, but it might not be limited solely to the platform that you're engaging yourself. Right. I think as we look at maybe device side AIs that might live on your Google or Apple phone, who's to say that it being so close to you in your pocket all the time, privy to all of your decisions, what you're clicking, who's to say that's not going to go out and kind of like scrub the web and bring back to you what it is that you'll want to watch based on what it knows that you're consuming, where it knows that you'll be, based on what you'll have access to, all of that. So I think we're really just scratching the surface.
Yeah, I agree. I'm personally very excited about AI recommendations. I've been in the AR/VR space for like 15 years now. So I get very excited about these technologies and how they're going to impact everything. But then now obviously seeing what is happening in the conversations on the table, they're super legit. I mean, everybody, I think, or a lot of people saw Black Mirror and the Salma Hayek episode. That's like the epitome of what everybody's fearful of right now. It's interesting times, but it's also an exciting time for us in this space to take a step back and look at, okay, how can we move forward together? How can we think strategically? How can we be smart? And also, how can we fight for our rights? Because we're all getting impacted by this.
We are, and I think that's also something that everyone's got to come to grips with. The we has changed. We all want to tell stories, but the reality is the industry is a gated one, right? And much of what is fueling the internet is that not everybody makes it through the gate. And people are looking for the opportunities to tell stories at scale. There's literally someone could be in their room by themselves making the next Star Wars right now with the assistance that they got.
We saw what Gen AI was doing a couple of months ago. And back in the day, technology changed every couple decades. Then it was every couple of years, and now it's every week. So it's the rate of speed of change is insane. But with that said, what advice do you have for content creators and marketers looking to stay relevant and innovative in an era where consumer behaviors and technology are changing so rapidly?
You got to stay educated. You've got to set up shop on every platform as it emerges. You've got to keep your eye on it, understands the pros, the cons, the nuances, and the developments. But not just from your personal perspective, because, we don't make these campaigns for us. You've got to look out and understand what the feeling of the community is about that platform, right? I thought it was really interesting that all things that Elon Musk is doing with the company formerly known as Twitter, the day after Spill was like no one trend. Everyone was talking about it. I feel as though over in the Meta offices, they were like, oh, it's time to launch Threads, right? They just roll that out as well. And it's from a competitive standpoint, for about a good 72 hours, there are a bunch of memes of social media managers, like pray for your social media managers right now, because it's about what's your Spill strategy? What's your Thread strategy? What have you? Let's not make that strategy right away. Set up shop, squat, but then just look at the data. All right, let's determine if it's someplace that you should go first. Right?
How did you calm your team when this was happening?
Well, it was more so just that right there, right? Let's wait and see.
Okay.
Right? No need to rush. There are plenty of changes that we're going to make. Right? But luckily for us, I think we're kind of in this position of me just joining the organization, us making so much change that it allowed us to have the conversation of how we should look at and prepare for a platform launch.
All right. Since we're talking about X, I wasn't going to mention it, but are you using Threads?
For me, I was like, okay, I wanted to post something to see what the engagement would be like and where it would be coming from. It was high, but it was in the first few hours of them rolling it out. So I think that's also part of the strategy as well.
You had like 30 million views in the first few hours.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, okay. This will make anyone feel their campaign is successful.
Nice.
But I think one thing that was interesting to me about Thread, which also kind of speaks to where we are in this state of social media, was that early on, Twitter was its own planet, Facebook was its own planet, YouTube was its own planet, and before the merger, IG as well. People were showing up differently, right, to the various platforms. And when I saw Facebook's technique, which essentially, just links your IG account, your Facebook account to launching a new account, it somewhat signaled the end of social media as we know it. It's essentially like, well, if I'm just going to follow my friends on Facebook and Instagram over here, why don't I just read what they posted on Facebook and Instagram? Right? Like, what's so different? I also thought the memes that spoke to the quick rise kind of really didn't take into account how that rise happened. Like, all that said was you need a network to start a network in 2023. But we didn't look at the value of being on that network. If it's just your same friend from the other two, what are you really doing here? And for marketers, you're really looking for the platform that's going to give you a different set of eyeballs. If I've already spent over here and over here, why would I spend here? Who's different? What is the difference in the experience?